Subscribe to Geomami Mumbai Film Festival and hit the bell icon to keep yourself updated on conversations on Dial M for Films.
So many times you as a director just have to learn how to be calm and absorb.
Honestly, every genre has been done. Every take has been done, because the only thing different in this entire thing is you and your take.
You got an acting offer pretty early on.
Worst decision of life, yeah, Smriti. I could have been a hero.
It was really hard. It was really hard because a couple of months, like, okay, where are my friends? So I was like, what happened? Please, somebody help me, love me.
Here we go to the nerd alert part. For the sake of brevity and for the sake of your understanding, I've taken the liberty to use a tool using steel plates. Really, I don't have a geometry box to make a chart. Do not laugh, please. Be kind.
Welcome to another session of Dial M for Films. Firstly, a big thanks for the love that you have shown for the series. The feedback is heartening, and we are geared up to bring you many more episodes featuring the crazy talent that works in films across India. Our guest today is writer and director Ashwini Iyer Tiwari. Ashwini always wanted to be a full-time artist, but practical parents convinced Ashwini to combine her love for art with prospects that would help her pay her bills. She studied commercial art from Sophia College in Mumbai, got her first job through campus placement with Leo Burnett in 2001, and went on to work on over 300 commercials across 14 years. These prolific years in advertising taught Ashwini objectivity and economy in storytelling. It also gave her a unique insight into small town India that possibly is one of the biggest reasons why her stories feel so real. She made her first short film in 2013, What's for Breakfast. The film won the Dada Saheb Phalke Award. Her very popular KBC advertisement, Mubarak Ho Ladki Hui Hai, inspired her to make her first film, Neel Bate Sanata. Her women are strong, but she insists that when she writes them as people and not as women. It is time to pull in the filmmaker who says that cinema is for the archives and can change lives. Ashwini Iyer Tiwari, welcome to Dial M for Films.
Hello, Shruti, and thank you so much and your team for introducing me and taking me back to memories of a long time ago. Man, it looks really like the way you guys have archived it looks like like a lifetime achievement. I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay, and I want to make a whole lot of more films. But thank you, because during these times with this pandemic going on, we all brood over and think over what's happening and what have we, where have we come, and of course it is a lot of introspection also. And I'm sure each one of us have introspected a lot, and this took me back to where I started from, and comes back to today on why I wanted to tell stories for cinema. So thank you so much, and yeah, I'm all yours. So
Ashwini, it's our pleasure. First of all, someone who starts with their first short film and wins the Dada Saheb Phalke Award, then Lifetime Achievement Award, तो अब क्या देंगे हम लोग? But I was, it's also very heartening to get to know the stories of creators, and I think what we really want to do is we really want to catalog the journey. The creators who become who they have right now, but what they were in overalls and the kind of work that has gone into, the years that have been invested to get to a certain position, so that you can tell the kind of stories that you can tell, and that brings me to actually small town India. And it's almost like a focus area for you. Ashwini, what is it that attracts you about this world?
During my days in advertising, I used to predominantly work on brands like Tide, Whisper, Rejoice. I worked on Stay Free. Basically, I worked across brands. I worked on Dabur Shanti Avla. I have worked on all kinds, Marico Medica for lice, So basically, I worked across all these brands where who were we talking to? We were talking to the 80% of our population who are buying these products, whether it was hair care or whether it was detergent powder or whether it was a sachet between a bottle, so those were the things we were talking about and talking to. And it was very important that in my learning in advertising, it took me to places which I would have not otherwise visited during my days, is because I'm a Bombay girl. I have born and brought up in Bombay. And so my culture and what I've lived around with is my Mumbai, my Bombay culture, and but what advertising helped me was to take me through the cities and the small towns of India, which I have never seen before. And what attracted me was that we were going and researching households where we used to talk about like almost everything they do from morning to evening, and how do they live their life, and what do they eat, what TV channels do they see, what they wear, how many sachets do they buy in a month. That's the kind of research we used to go into. But in that process, what happened was that I got to know that there is more beyond where we live, and those are the stories which I want to talk about. And of course, what attracts me more than anything else is that our country is full of colors and textures, and there is a dialect difference in every, I would say, 100 kilometers, and there are clothes which are very different. Like even the sari which we wear it like in 50 different kinds. So that's what we are. And for me, that was very beautiful. And the most another important thing was that we had the ability to laugh on our jokes. If you go anywhere, why do we have all these kathas, or we have these chai tapris, and we won't see that anywhere in the world except India and maybe our neighboring countries. But the thing is that in our country, we enjoy having the chai ka tapri ka chai, and we would like speak. And that chai ka tapri is where you will find everyone across strata of society.
You call it gap.
Yeah, a chai doesn't discriminate you, and that's for everyone. So you may be working in a multinational, but you'll still go down in the afternoon or in the evening to have your chai. And that's what I enjoy, and the conversations which happen during that time. And also knowing neighbors, knowing people, saying hello, knowing exactly what is happening in the other person's house is what we strive on. And we are also very helpful, is because if one person falls sick, there'll be a whole community who will come together and make sure that, and that's why we are a country of open doors. And for me, the reason I wanted to make stories of small towns or representing our culture and representing what we are truly was because if French cinema can purely talk about truly French cinema, and it's so beautiful that we all like it, and if Chinese films are exactly what Chinese would do, then I wanted to make our films like exactly like how we would be, and be unapologetically Indian and talk about it in our own nice way.
Ashwini, before we even delve into how you create these worlds and what the kind of work that goes into creating them, there's a question I've always wanted to ask you, that, the women that you create, on screen are very powerful, and the men that you create on screen are really empathetic. And it's beautiful to see stories around them pan out. But you've insisted in interviews that, you know, the reason I can create the characters that I create, or the women that I create, is because I'm not writing or looking at them through the gender lens. I'm actually looking at them as people. Would you like to elaborate on that?
That's a beautiful way you've put it, and I see that you have really looked into my films and made sure that you put it in that way. I don't have the right word right now. See, for me, I think it's high time we stop segregating movies into women-centric films and film which is only by women, because when you make a story, you don't think in that way that I'm making a woman-centric film or a male-centric film. We never call films as male-centric films when there is a man leading the show for the film. For me, it is always the point of view. Whose point of view are you telling the story in? And that is more important. And the lens of the point, if you're talking from the point of view of a man about a woman, then she is the main protagonist, but you're talking from all the four sides who is following her journey. And in my life, I have always seen a lot of men supporting women. I have seen so many women supporting women, and I have seen so many women supporting their own selves. But in real life, they never go and say, I'm supporting myself, or, you know, see, I'm supporting my daughter. It all happens very organically. It happens from the point of view of the mother for her daughter, or it happens from the point of view of the husband for his wife, or for a brother for his sister, or vice versa for that matter, or a brother to a brother. So for me, the elements, the threads which make the tapestry is more important than the tapestry itself.
How lovely. You know, now let's get on to how you do the magic that you do, which is that if I was to divide up the different aspects that go into creating the worlds that you create, some of the things that I would hit upon are research, writing, dialogues, characters, casting, art, production design, costumes, and cinematography. Across the films that you've made, you know, Neel Bate Sanata, Bareli Ki Barfi, Panga, can you take us through the process starting with Neel Bate Sanata?
I will just step back a bit, and I will say that I'm a very meticulous person. We say that creative people are very fluid and you know, move with the flow, but at the same time, I feel that if we are in the business of making films, then we need to be as meticulous as possible also. So I'm a very stationary person. So for every film, I have like 2 books. I have a whole cupboard of books here behind. I am a stationery freak and a pen freak of different colors. And I have like highlighters and everything. So basically, as soon as the screenplay is ready, we take a lot of time to write the screenplay. We also don't write screenplays individually. We write screenplays in a group. In any of my films, you will at least have 2 writers working together. So the process is slightly more longer, is because we will argue, we will fight on that basic line which has to come out, which could have happened like in half an hour, but it took like a whole day, is because, and literally, I'm not exaggerating, a whole day. I remember on Bareli Ki Barfi, Nitesh and Shari had a point of view on this one line which Rajkumar Rao was supposed to say. And that line went off on and on, on and on, on and on. And I was like, guys, you know what? This might just change when I'm making the film, so it's okay. But it is important that for us that we work in a team, maybe because it's a very aggressive training in advertising, that we work in teams and we take out the best out of people. And this is a learning from me, is that although filmmaking is an isolation job, it's still a very people's work, you know. So they say that it's a very, you're alone, but no, you're not alone. You're still along with a whole crowd who's supporting you to do it. So after writing, finally when it is written, and after it is written, we go for casting. We don't think of the cast before writing. And once we see and we feel, I feel that, you know what, this is who it is going to be, because I feel that this person will be able to do justice to this character. For me, it has always been reverse. The actor gets into the character and not vice versa. So unknowingly, some traits, some personality of the actor will predominantly be, it was just like the match was there, you know. So that happens most of the time. And that's when you see them on screen, you feel that, oh, you know what, it's so correct. From there, I opened my first page of my book, and I put some stickers and I do everything, and I write the name of the film and everything. And then I start writing character sketches according to what I feel it is. And those character sketches, if I take Nil Bate Sannata, it is the amount of conversations I had with Swara was unbelievable. And because this was the first time she was going to play the role of a mother, and Swara didn't know the aspect of how a mother would be, that too to a 14-year-old, you know. And I still remember meeting her in Warsaw in one of those cafes there, and she said that, you know what, I really like the role, but how am I going to play a role of a mother? First of all, I said, you put on weight. Okay. And then she said, okay, that's very easy. That's a very easy thing to do. Putting on weight is a very easy thing to do. Then I said that the way you are, she was right after Tanu Weds Manu. So you can imagine her, you know, her personality, like go get her types. I said, you need to do meditation. You need to do yoga. She said, how does that help? I said, that helps is because you will meditate and you will calm down, and a mother always has to be very patient, but they take off also very fast. So she said, okay. And then I told her that I want you to do a very honest thing. The amount of times you've not spoken to your mother, I want you to have a conversation with your mother. I want you to have a conversation with your mother of all the things you would have done while you were 13 and 14 and 15. And what bothered her the most? Let's have this open conversation. She said, I've never done that ever. You know, I've always spoken to my mother, but I've never spoken to her about how wicked I was when I was 13 or 14. But that kind of changed her perspective, is because by the time she came onto the shoot, she exactly knew what she had to do. Is because there were times when she had spoken to her mother, and there were conversations which she never knew about herself, which her mother also, you know, it's almost like confessing things. You know, that time you really troubled me, and I have spoken to my mother, and she has also told me a lot of things which, you know, which we might have ignored. And so those are the things which came out, and she said that this was a really good experience. So when she came on set, she was ready. But the funny part is that the most important sequence, which was about hitting the girl, is because she had taught her values. But one value was against what she had told her, and that was she had steal. And when she gave her that tight slap, one take happened, two takes happened, and it was full one shot. You know, the whole sequence was a one shot. And she was going like this. I said, hello, you can't like beat her like this. She said, why can't we just do that thing, you know? I said, no, you cannot. You have to be angry, and you just have to give her, because otherwise she's not going to emote and she's not going to cry. And she said, okay. And then she like told Riya that, please, I'm really sorry. And then Riya, we just left it there because we had to shoot. And she cried, and that's what we captured. But after I said cut, Swara started crying. She was sobbing. And that's what I think getting into the character does for you. So, and she was crying, and Apu was crying, and she wanted to meet her mother, and Swara wanted to meet her mother. I wanted to meet my children. So basically, it was like some one full. It was that, yeah.
You know, Ashwini, I want to take you back a little bit, because I know that Nil Bate Sannata, you got the inspiration for your first film from the advertisement that you did, you know, for KBC. which was Mubarak Ho Ladki Hui Hai. And it gave you saw the impact, and that was the foundation of writing a story like this. But when you started writing the screenplay, when the writers got together, you got together with them and you started to break it down, the choice of location, where you're going to set the story, what the world is going to be, how were those decisions taken, and what kind of research went into kind of constructing that?
So our initial, we always wanted to take a small town because for me the dialect was very important. So either I could have taken it somewhere in Maharashtra, or I wanted to take it somewhere where it was more closed in terms of, when I say closed, is that a small city, a small town, if there's one doctor, then a whole lot of people would know that one doctor in that locality, and if there is any problem, then the motherly aspect, or that we can go to him or her, would always be the choice, that if I have a problem, I'll go to.
I mean, where there's more intimacy, where people know each other, the town is kind of like, it's not so vast and not so spread out that people are not aware of anyone. Yeah.
And also, I, as a maker, I'm a very outdoor person. So for me, shooting in closed enclosures doesn't give me joy at all, because I love going on recce's and doing all these big outdoor shoots which are very landscapish, and all my DOPs have a hard time for that. But yeah, that's what it is. And what we felt is that at that point of time, that when we went to Agra, we felt that the Taj Mahal was something which was the epitome of love. And Anay Goswami was supposed to shoot my film, and it was his thought that maybe we should go to Agra and see what it is like. Is because the Taj Mahal could also be the epitome of love between a daughter and a mother, and what we found was that right behind the Taj Mahal, we found this whole basti, and from their terraces you could see the Taj Mahal. So for me, that whole idea of cinematography, the whole landscape, and the different jobs which she had to do, it's just not about the character, but it's also about how do you add value to all those scenes through cinematography, through visuals, to add more to what we are saying in the story. So she had multiple jobs. This location gave me the whole idea of showing visuals which we had not seen in screen for a very long time, or we have never seen it. Was like a shoe factory. Like she's working in a shoe factory because Agra is famous for leather. Then she is working to wash the saris, the second-hand saris, which is again a hub. Agra is a hub where all the saris are washed and it's transported across India. We got a whole lot of saris for her from the second-hand shops, so there was no full stylist designing her clothes and everything. Her blouse was designed by me, and we just got those beautiful saris from the second-hand mart with a little bling in it. Is because I researched and I saw that women love to wear these colorful saris. They may be poor, or they may not have the ability to go to a mall, but जितने में है ना उतने में बहुत खुश है वो. तो उनको अच्छा लगता है bright color साड़ी पहनना. You'll always see them in blues and maroons and oranges, and then that whole landscape of वो साड़ी पेट रहे हैं, वो गर्म पानी में डाल रहे हैं, वो सब चीजें तो मैंने कभी देखी नहीं थी. और जब मैंने देखी वो, तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि यार कितना सुंदर है ये, और ये कितना, और हम भी बताने की कुछ कोशिश कर रहे हैं जो हमारी देश की लैंडस्केप है. And then you go to the shoe factory, and then you go to the doctor's house, which is a nice, beautiful bungalow. So that's what, and of course, one very important aspect was that the IAS officer. So in small towns, there are a lot of IAS colonies, and it is a very government. You'll have a lot of government colonies and quarters there. So for me, that was also very, very important. So we got a beautiful quarter also there. So for me, Nilbatti Sannata location was the most important thing, to show the landscape of two different worlds but still becoming one, because the emotion of dream is one between both the sides.
Ashwini, when you say that the location was the most important for you, and when you were building out the world, and it was very important for you to decide where to set the film, to get out the intimacy and the authenticity in the film, then what kind of research goes into it? Like, do you travel to that place and live there for a certain amount of time? Or do you get these pictures clicked so that you get to know exactly what the cultural, landscape of that town is, in order for you to replicate it and infuse it in every aspect of the film? Like, how do you, once you've taken that decision, what happens after that?
Yeah, so basically the first decision to take is to where do we shoot, So there is a little bit of recce which goes in, which is called the pre-recce. And whether it is Bareli Ki Barfi, Panga, or even for that matter, Nilbatti Sannata and even Amma Kanakku, for all the 4 films, it's always been the same. Amma Kanakku less is because I knew that I was shooting in Chennai. But for Panga and for Bareli Ki Barfi and for Nilbatti Sannata. So there were a lot of options that, okay, now I need to shoot in a small town, but these are the locations I need, and I also need to be happy with them. And also in terms of production, it has to be manageable, because it's just not me going alone there. You have a crew of 100 who's also going there to shoot. So all that things keeping in mind, we go first. We do a round first where it's only the director, the DOP, and the production person, and your first AD. Only 4 or 5 people go to see and check what are the different kinds of locations. Those are the hardest, is because in one day you're seeing more than 20 houses, because not a single time can be wasted. Every time is counted for. It's a money you're paying. So if you're staying for 5 nights, then you're paying for 5 nights, but you have to cover everything in that 5 nights, is because, yes, I understand. So you go from, it's not a travel, you're not enjoying, you're just looking, you're absorbing. But when you are going for that, you start, as a director, I start looking at what are the characters looking like, who are these kids looking like. If you're going to schools, then I click school uniforms, I click kids who are in that zone. Then I go to the markets, I go to every location which is required for the film. But in that due course, because you're going to that location, I also click the people existing in that location, for colors, for textures, for costumes, for the hairstyle. Like in Bareli Ki Barfi, Rajkumar Rao and Ayushmann Khurrana's hairstyle and clothes were exactly when I had gone for recce. When I had gone for recce, we had gone to this very complicated market area, and suddenly I saw these 2 guys standing there, 2 friends, 2 different looking with this mohawk hair, and both of them were talking, and my crew had gone far, and I was like, "Ek minute ruko bhaiya, mujhe aapka photo nikalna hai." I literally took their photographs, and Rajkumar's these shirts, these bold prints and those contrasting complementary colors, whether it was red and blue or it was yellow and red, and all those bright colors, was purely because I'd seen them all there with those little faded jeans and the narrow things and little jeans which go below. So these were exactly this was what it was, and I came back running to my crew and said, "Mujhe mera Pritam aur Chirag mil gaya hai." I go back and I call up my costume person. I call up Kirti was there, Kirti. So I called up Kirti. I called up my art, and I sent these pictures to Raj and Aishnu. I said, "This is you. This is you now. बाकी सब तो acting तो आप कर ही लोगे. आप तो मतलब महान कलाकार हो. So undoubtedly you're like really good actors. but as a director, for me, this is what it is, you know. So that's what. And for Kriti, again, it was about that, you know, that giving the little bit of. So I found a lot of girls there wearing those, um, you know, you have those, what it was called, acid jeans.
Yes. I
Acid
remember
jeans.
that. हमारा भी phase था वो एक.
Yeah,
Acid.
little short, and they all wear, and I saw them all wearing like these nice blingy tight t-shirts, and they look all very cool with this nice hair and, you know, an eyeliner and all that stuff. I was like, wow, cool. And I clicked photographs. So the recce is not only looking at locations, but also looking at all the other aspects of, including food. Like in Panga, because food was such an important factor, a lot of the food which was prepared was actually the local things which are prepared there. Like poha is a huge thing of MP. And paratha is a huge thing there, and it's a Punjabi household. So you know those things. And the bindi was not the kurkure bindi from Punjab, but the kurkure bindi which was made in the next door house, which was transported to our shoot when we were supposed to shoot that scene. So, you know, these are the things we recce. I come back and in my famous notebook, I write down all those things. And then I change the screenplay, which is
Yes.
director's screenplay.
It has an effect on the writing, the work that you've done, right?
Yeah.
Like when
I change the
you go.
screenplay. Now I write the locations according to what I have gone and selected and said, okay, now these are the locations. And I write those locations and I rewrite scenes, the visual scenes, according to what I've seen there. So, for example, in the screenplay of Bareli Ki Barfi, it was written that Ayushmann is thinking how to make a fool of Vidrohi. Chirag is thinking how to make a fool of Vidrohi. Now, till the time I didn't go to the location, I didn't know that just next to where they stay, there was a huge market area, and in that market area, evening में लोगों को वो video game खेलने की बहुत आदत है. वो box video games.
वो वीडियो गेम पार्लर में जो होती हैं.
वीडियो गेम पार्लर जो बाहर भी रखा रहता है कि ऐसे आप डाल दो 10 रुपए और आपको खेलने को मिलेगा. So Ayushmann Chirag's friend Rohit Chaturvedi, who's acting in the film, he is the one who I was walking through and I was still thinking, what do? We don't have this location, you know. I want something different. I don't want to go to the same thing and do the same thing thinking in a room or whatever. And I saw this and I was like, does anyone know how to play this? And then we got Rohit, we called the local guy, he taught us how to play. We saw the game and everything. And then Chirag is standing next to him, looking at the game, him playing. And if you see the reference for it, that he is like literally pushing someone. And that's what is going on exactly in Chirag's mind. And where I'm standing is exactly the position in where Ayushmann Khurrana would stand. So this was the pre-tech recce which we had done, and he was teaching me how to play the game.
You know, Ashwini, when you actually when you choose a space, like you chose Agra, then you chose Bareilly, Bhopal, when you make these, choices, do you first go yourself and stay there with a small AD team and then take your principal crew there for a tech recce, or everyone goes together and then maybe if you feel like revisiting the space, you revisit it? How much time does it take for a director to kind of, imbibe a space and then take everybody? Do you need some quiet time there first?
So, like I said before, the first time we go for a recce, when we choose certain places, like in Nilpate Sannata, I had gone first to Lucknow. I didn't like anything there because I felt that it was too big as a city for me. But then from there, first I went to Banaras. And I found it, I went to the schools, I wanted to see what is the location around the schools and everything. I didn't find the right, you feel that connection. That didn't happen, although Banaras is a great city to shoot. It's so beautiful. From Banaras, I took an evening car and I went to Lucknow. I recce'd a bit, but then I auditioned all these characters, whether it was Ria, whether it was Pinchu, and whether it was all these kids who are just school going kids who had never acted before. But I wanted to see them on my own, so I went there, and from there, then I went to Agra. So when we go for the first time, we bunch it up, thinking you never know, if you don't get something here, then we'll have to go here. Once I came back, I said, okay, fine, it is going to be Agra. I'm going to be shooting in, and after that, we do all the planning. The line producer, the executive producer, the first AD, they all sit together and they figure out everything. If you're shooting in Agra, then yeah, okay, fine, we're shooting in Agra, but where's the equipment going to come from? Now, Agra at that point of time in 2015 when I shot, it was not a shooting friendly city at all. That was the first time I think someone was shooting there after like ages. बल्कि पुराने फिल्में बहुत बनी है वहाँ पर उसके बाद बनी नहीं और अब जाके बन रही थी. And सबका एक swag होता है. They're not used to seeing like, you know, first of all, a woman directing out there. That's also another thing. And questioning and asking where is this location and all that stuff. But then there's a whole lot of back-end work, I would say, which happens. So at the time when I'm looking forward I'm looking at costumes, I'm looking at all the other things. There's a whole team working behind on how to make the director's vision happen. Is because if you're getting equipment, how's a crew going to travel? Where are the places to stay? Are there even hotels to stay which are good enough for everyone, you know? What is the distance between the hotel and going of the location? Are there enough cars available every day from morning to travel? Who's the transport looking like? You know, there's so much going on. And when everything looks okay is when we say, okay, fine, this is the location, this is where we're going to be shooting. Also in Agra, we had to create that house. So we wanted the house to be right at the edge, where which will be overlooking when wo chat pe rahegi to Taj Mahal from a very cinematic way. So there were months where it went off where the house was rented off, and then the art director went ahead. The field was growing. We asked them not to clean up the field. The lanes were cleaned up. Vanity vans came in from Delhi or Bombay, I don't remember. So, you know, those kind of things happen because then Swara told me I will stay there for some time, for some days and live with the place. But by the time you go on to shoot, I as a director and the DOP and my first AD have visited the place so many times that it is we exactly know.
So, you know, I know that with the writing gets affected when you come back after you've looked at after you've settled on the location, when you know that, okay, fine, this is what I'm going to do. When you've already edged out the characters, right? You've written the characters, and I know as a filmmaker, characters are very, very important to you. And in fact, there are times that you've said that the character is even more important than the plot, because you feel that characters are what people connect with. How do characters get affected in your film once you've decided where they would be set? What kind of work do you do with the characters, and do you also take your actors to location or do workshops with them before the shooting actually begins?
Yes, absolutely. Workshops are a must for me. My casting partner for all my films has been Mukesh, and Mukesh has always helped me, you know, get the right kind of characters. Is because I always like to go in depth with the characters, and something imbibes from them. Maybe they are from that city, or the language is such that, you know, that comes out. Also, I truly feel that whichever city or whichever town I'm shooting in, the characters have to imbibe a little bit of the accent and the way of living of that place, you know. Because the Hindi spoken in Bombay, the Hindi spoken Mumbai, or the Hindi spoken in Delhi, the Hindi spoken in UP, East UP, West UP is different. So in Nil Pate Sannata, Swara had to literally get the accent. It was not ye, it was always J. J baat hai. And
So
in Bareli Ki Barfi, Rohit, who was also one of the actors as Ayushman's friend, was also a dialect tutor, because the Bareli Hindi is slightly twanged. Although we do not want to get into so much of the depth, but from an overall effect, we're still in the art of storytelling, so we still need to understand the language. We cannot be like we don't understand, an audience doesn't get it, but it must be so much that they understand that they belong to this place. So Rohit, there also it was given, I very carefully designed it that for me, Rajkumar was totally staying in Bareilly and belonged to that accent. So, "Je baat hai bhaiya, hum to aise nahi bata rahe the." You know, it was that. Because he's always been very, very pious. But for Chirag, he was like, "Kya bata rahe ho tum mujhe?" You know, that it was that. And Chirag still had a little Delhi thing to him, is because eventually I feel, according to me, maybe don't show in the film, but for me it was, वो बरेली के बाद में दिल्ली तो चला ही जाएगा, ऐसा मतलब वो वाला चीज है। तो वो स्वैग जो होता है ना, थोड़ा सा है, तो उसका एक्सेंट में भी इतना आपको बरेलीनेस नहीं दिखाई देगा, या वो स्मॉल टाउनिश नहीं आएगा। एंड फॉर बिटवी, फॉर मी, शी वाज स्टिल समवन who had a little edge to her. So she'll be very sweet, but still her Hindi would be a mix of Delhi and mix of Bareilly or any small town UP, is because her parents have brought her up like that. But if you go to see her both her mother and father are full as desi as they can get, because they've stayed there, they're born and brought up there, you know. So that's the generation, and therefore the mix of getting everything right in terms of all these characters dialect is very important across all films. Yeah, I will just, this is a trivia for me, but even when I was shooting Amma Kanak,
I was just, oh my God, I was just going to talk to you about that. In fact, if you're going to touch upon it, then do tell us what are the changes that you had to make, because the film was set in Agra, but you know, when you were making the Tamil version, it was set in Chennai, and it was a whole different film, even though the ideology was the same.
Yeah.
What are the changes that you had to make?
So for me, emotions are across same across the world. Like, you talk in any language, a cry is a cry, a laughter is a laughter, because it doesn't have any emotional language per se, you know. But where you set it up and the culture of a place is very, very important. So, for example, I was setting it up in Chennai, and one part of Chennai, to the same household category. The food there made was, she used to work in the fish factory, and instead of the leather factory, because that's what they do, and they are more, I feel, in the sense of respect is much more, you know. So so in Nilpate Sannata, you could see that both the Ratna Pathak Shah and Saurabh Bhaskar used to sit and talk together, whereas in Amma Kanak, the sense of respect is that she would never, you know, even आँख उठा के भी नहीं देखेगी अपने, जब जिसको पूछती है उसको आँख उठा के भी नहीं देखेगी, वो एक कल्चरल चीज है वो। फिर you know, those are the things, and of course colors totally change there, because the light source is very less, and the kind of houses which are there is more close than the houses in what I saw in Agra. So keeping those things in place and keeping those colors in place, keeping those nuances is what I changed in Amma Kanak. Also, the Tamil is not the same, you know. For the rest of India, everyone feels that, you know, Tamil is same, whatever it is Tamil. No, it's not. It's not that, you know. Tamil also varies according to which part of South India you come from, which is respected to Tamil Nadu. Yeah.
Panga is one of your most personal stories. It was inspired, I mean, there was a conversation that happened between you and Rucha Pathak, who was the creative head at that point of time, who said that, why isn't a story centered around the sport of kabaddi? And you were like, the idea is exciting, but till it has an emotional rooting for you, it doesn't make sense for you to make a film. But then you did find that emotional rooting when you saw, Serena Williams in the Lean In campaign by Sheryl Sandberg, or Sania Mirza returned to, professional tennis after 2 years of a sabbatical, maternity leave sabbatical, and win the tennis doubles title, and of course the relatability of that with you as a mother of two, and your own guilt management between responsibilities at home and work, how you would balance that. How does one borrow from their own life and still stay objective?
I feel I borrow a lot of my own experiences and people I've seen in my films. Like Kriti Senon's mother, who was played by Seema Pava, was one of Nitesh's aunts, who I could like totally relate to. So for me, those kind of things will always come into, and I think those are the experiences which I carry on, some trait, some voice modulation. Panga is really close to me, that because I truly feel that somewhere it reflected my sense of being as soon as I became a mother. The whole aspect, and this is something which my mother had told me very, very clearly, I would say, and very strictly, is that have an education, work, earn money, stand on your own, fall in love, get married, have children, but work. She said you cannot stop working because you had a child unless your circumstances does not allow you to do that. And I understand that totally. I mean, it's not wrong to leave your job after you have become a mother, is because sometimes circumstances do not allow you to do that, or there are certain responsibilities which you need to adhere to, which is more important than your work. That will always be there. Family first, always. But the moment I had children, I had twin kids. First of all, I think I had like a kind of a post, a little post, whatever that's called, that भाई मेरी तो मतलब जिंदगी खराब हो गई, मेरे को तो बच्चे हो गए मेरे, अब मेरा कुछ नहीं हो सकता. So that feeling comes on to everyone, that instead of staying in hospital like for 3 days, I stayed there for 10 days. So basically,
called the postpartum depression.
Postpartum, whatever that's called, that you feel, and every woman feels that, especially women who are so independent and, are doing their jobs and everything. And then suddenly you feel that, how are you going to manage these little ones? But when things move on and everything is there, I saw a whole, I did a lot of research, and I saw that a whole lot of women drop out after they have children. They stop working. They stop working predominantly because of guilt issues, or maybe don't have the support system at home, or feel weak in terms of that, of the what ifs, buts, the different emotional responsibilities we go through as a woman.
Ashwini, I would like to say it's also because of the fact that, even if you have a support system and also responsibilities, the fact of the matter is that women inherently, it's also because of the way the society is structured, unfortunately, are constantly feeling guilty.
Exactly. And in this day and age, when we are talking about co-parenting, when we are talking about equal responsibility, I felt that if you're talking about a story which is going to be for 2019, 2020, then it may as well talk about co-parenting in a gist of co-responsibilities also, because co-parenting means responsibilities. And when it comes to the fact that for the longest time, we always used to say that behind every man there is a woman, is because when the man goes out to work, he was working happily with contentment, is because he knew back home everything was okay, that the mother of the children are taking care of themselves, and she's there. But what if it is reverse? What if happens that why don't we? Why we are now celebrating, but we should celebrate more of house husbands. We should celebrate more men who are helping their wives to do better, who are encouraging their wives to go study or do whatever they feel like, and that is happening for me. So someone asked me that there is no villain in your film. I said the villain is the mind. It's your thinking. The thinking is the villain in Panga, is because and this little inspiration came to me from my own personal experiences, that while Nitesh was shooting Dangal, his last schedule, I got the offer to shoot or to work on Amma Kankar, and I knew that if he has to go to Patiala to shoot, because he was shooting all his important sequences, that 1 month in January, after 15th onwards till Feb, I was supposed to be in Chennai. And keeping that in mind, I said, I don't think so I'll be doing this film. I don't want to do it. And Nitesh told me that, why won't you do it? I mean, there's nothing wrong in doing something like this. It's because it's just a matter of 1 month, and in that 1 month, you would not even know how things went off, and everything will fall in place. And in that 1 month, for 10 days, the kids will come to meet you and all that stuff. And my mother is there, and we have my brother-in-law is there. So there's a lot of support. So दिल पे हाथ रख के मैं गई, बट फिर मैंने एक बात सोची, एंड वो दिमाग में मेरे आया कि because I'm a woman, I started thinking this way. If a man has to go out and go on a tour or do something, would they think this way? No, they would not. And I'm not here talking about I'm not someone. I need the support of a man for me to move forward and and do whatever I dream of, is because I know back home everything is taken care of, and I'm supported fully. It's the same thing for a man also, for a woman to support. So this whole thing changed in my head, that if I want to do something, then I do it with equal responsibility. That doesn't mean that I'm a bad mother. That doesn't mean that because I didn't attend one PTA, because I didn't go for one school function, I'm not a bad mother. Because I did the homework while I was shooting Panga on something on WhatsApp, I'm not a bad mother. So these are the things which I got out of my system, and I think today I'm a far more happier person, which I was always happy, but this guilt trip of should I or should I not didn't, is because the respect for my son, the way he respects me, or the way my daughter and my son both look at me, has changed much more than how they would see me as, So the joke is that I never used to cook, and this whole lockdown I have cooked every day. I know this is not about not in your masterclass, but it's part of your being also, right? And अभी ये तो बता देंगे कि नितेश जोक्स ऑलवेज से ना, अरे इतना तो है कि माँ का हाथ का खाना खाया लोग ने अभी शूट पे चली जाओगे तो वापस खाना नहीं मिलेगा. That's a joke going around now. This lockdown over and she's off for her shoot. She's a bohemian. She'll just go and no food at home. But that's a joke, So that's what I wanted to get out in Panga. And it will, a movie like Panga will pinch a little hearts here and there, is because they're not used to this whole idea that how can a woman go out and follow her dream while I'm here at home cooking and doing everything. But that was what it is. Yeah.
Ashwini, tell me something, that what would be your advice for first-time directors? Are the mistakes you feel that they can avoid that you possibly made?
I would be very happy to say that I have not made any mistakes. That's because I was very prepped on everything and I didn't take anything for granted. the chance that you're getting to make a film itself is very big. For me, the only advice which I would give to first-time directors is there are two types of first-time directors. One who are assistant directors who have worked assisted and then who become directors is because they're used to the whole process of filmmaking. I always tell my first ADs who want to become directors that, you know, when you want to become a director, stop thinking like a first AD. That's the first rule. That just become a director then. You don't worry about kya timing, location, wo scenes. Don't worry about those things. Because for that you will have a first AD, right? So just be there. But for people who are not assistant directors, who do not know the flow, then either should come from some form of advertising, something related to films or documentaries, or, you know, something which will prove them to be as that they can handle a film. Also, I feel it is very important to test yourself if you are a first-time director by making a short film. And in today's day and age, you have a lot of equipments where you can make a short film and just test your waters, because direction is just not about making frames look good, or you know what camera angle and you know what genre of movie are you making and you know names of directors. No, it's not that. I see a lot of these young aspiring filmmakers who know a lot of names, who know exactly what shot was taken in which film, and shot breakdowns, and you know how it happened and everything. But direction is more than that. Direction is about understanding your characters, because for everything else you have amazing partners to help you. You choose partners in art, in copy, in costume, everywhere to help you. But the job of yours is to accumulate everything together and get amazing performances out of your actors and get the story together. And that's what the most important thing a director does, I feel, is telling the story in its full form to an audience to consume. So for me, I feel that it's very important that upcoming directors need to understand human psychology more. They need to understand characters more. They need to travel more. They need to talk to people. They need to understand, you know, the backstory of people, because you don't know from where your next story is coming from. And for that, you need to keep your eyes, your ears open. And that not necessarily mean that you need to read a lot of books. I know a lot of creators who don't read books at all. It's only you like it or you don't like it. It is not a compulsion that you have to read books. No. It is also not a compulsion that you need to know every lens, every aspect of lensing. Half of the time I don't even remember the lens ka number. So I will tell my DOP, you know, that close, because I'm more interested that I need my frame to be that way. And my DOPs are so smart, because that's the first thing I tell them, that I know exactly what I want, but I'm bad at numbers, I forget it, you know. So don't worry, got it, you know, because they're doing their job and they understand that. So for me, that is more important. So the fairy of knowing it all is great, but the depth from where the soil has to be good before it nurtures into a plant.
That basically what you are also trying to say, which is very important, and I think there's a very important message in there, that you know, the rigor is very important, and also you don't need to know every technical term on the planet, but the life experience, going out, talking to people, getting to know more people, getting to know characters, their backstories, that is the kind of work that the director needs to do, and hire a great team to take care of the rest.
Yeah, my basic aim has always been that always try to create something which is not like someone, because like someone has already been done. If you are also going to be like that movie, or I will make a film like that, then how are you going to be different? And your different is your strength. I feel for creators, it is important to do something which you're most comfortable in. If that means a sobbing love story, fine, let it be a sobbing love story. If that means like a thriller, which a lot of youngsters are very skewed towards, then fine, let it be that. And one thing which I have learned, and which I always tell my writers who are going to become directors now, and my first assistant who want to become directors, is that your first film, whether it's a short film or whether it's a long film or whether it's a series you're going to be directing, just make sure that you are co-writing it along with your writer. It's very important that you co-write. Maybe you do not have the nuance of writing. Not all directors are writers, but be with your writer and go with the flow, because it's very important that you know your story in and out to perceive and to express your imagination and what your storytelling world is going to be to the outside world. So for me, that is very, very important, that writers write their own script if they want to direct, the first script, or directors who want to direct but do not have the ability to write, find a writing partner and write along with them, but don't do it all also. Don't do it all.
Before I open the house out for questions, because there are lots of amazing people who are waiting to ask you a bunch of questions.
And I've spoken a lot.
No, you've not spoken a lot. I could go on and break all of this down. But, it is, as you know, this is a time for everyone to look inwards, to kind of assess a lot of things, in the way things happen and pan out, and the systems that exist in the industry, possibly every industry. You've worked for such a long time and, of course, have many years ahead of you. What are the few things that you feel can change about the industry? What are the few things that you feel can improve the systems in the industry?
I feel
I feel, okay, let me give you a focus that could possibly make it, make the journey of new people who join the industry a little better. I asked Tapsi and she spoke about empathy. She spoke about the lehza in which the feedback is given. I've asked the same question to a lot of creators, and, credits for Shayoni were very important, that it would be nice if, people were credited for their work, and credits came.
Yeah, so I feel, thank you for giving me a little bit of this thing. I feel that writers need to be given credit for whatever they do. And it is important that when writers write, they are also in total, their name also comes there, because a story forms on paper, and it's very important that writers get credit for that. I also feel that everyone who's involved in the job of films, whether it's your DOP, whether it's your art director, whether it is your executive producer, all of them get that kind of credit which goes into making a film. For me, team spirit and teamwork is very, very important. So that is there. Also, one important thing which I have learned, because I get a lot of scripts from upcoming writers, and it is very important that we give a reason when we are saying no to a script, when we are saying no to a story. If new people are coming and sharing their script with us, they are sharing it with us because they feel that we can guide them, or we can put them onto someone else, maybe, or maybe have some hope, because we all strive on hope, right? All of us strive on hope. One big learning is that in my growing years, when someone used to refuse, didn't like my script, my advertising script, my bosses didn't like my advertising script, they always gave me a reason of why they didn't like it and how I could better it. I feel it is very important for everyone who are at a decision-making level to inspire young creative minds by giving them a reason of what this is script about, just spending like 15-20 minutes reading it, and telling them that this is the reason they do not, maybe this doesn't work for them, and maybe they are not the right people to be approached to, and they can be put on to some other people. I feel that is very, very important, is because when in doubt, then you don't know why someone has rejected your script. For creators, it's very important that you need to know that why someone is not accepting my script. And also one very important thing which I feel writers, I'm telling you purely from a writer perspective, that's very important to register your script. It is very important to register your script, and it is also very important to channelize your script, sending it to the person in the right way. Do not send your scripts on WhatsApp. See, numbers are very easily available now through friends and through people. There are directors group, assistant directors group. So people who want number, it just goes on there. But it is very important that you respect your own creativity. Do not send scripts on WhatsApp.
Ashwini, WhatsApp पे तो आजकल breakup होने लगे हैं. I'm just kidding.
So that's the whole thing. And for assistant directors and directors, assistant directors, I can only talk for assistant directors. I feel that it is important to show a little bit of humility and learning, that I'm here to learn and I want to do something. And it is also important that I frankly do not follow the first assistant system. I love talking to even my third ADs. Like otherwise you're not allowed to, because the first AD will talk to the director, and there will be a director's assistant, and everyone else will only talk to the first assistant director. I do not follow that. I love talking to all my assistant directors. I love talking to everyone. I love giving them jobs directly. And I feel it is very important, because you're asking me what can change, is that the ability for directors to talk to their assistant directors, to mingle with them, to know who's that fourth assistant director who's standing there and doing something. It's very important to know, and just go and tell a hi to that person, to make him or her feel important, and not like one little kid who's just running around on set doing all the work. The most important thing is that. The most important thing is to feel a part of a team and feel loved.
No, that is wonderful, Ashwini. I hope through these conversations, we are able to accumulate sort of a docket of things that can actually change within the industry. And I feel these small little changes might bring a lot of empathy.
Smriti, one very good thing which Rucha did on Panga, which I was very touched with, and it was the first time I think she did, or she said, I'm going to change this. And I felt very touched, just because as a director, I can only do so much, but I totally agreed with her, is that she got all the assistant directors' name on the first credit list.
That is wonderful.
That is so good. There were claps in the theater when the assistant director saw it, because I feel they are the backbone, and she made sure it was just not the first assistant director and all the other assistant director in the last end credits. Black role में जो आधे लोग तो theater में बैठते भी नहीं, निकल जाते हैं. They saw their names there. Like दो लोगों का नाम था 3 plates में. So it was really heartening for me also. Is because I don't think so we could do. So these are the little changes which we as an industry can do. Give importance to the people who really work so much.
No, lovely. Ashwini, these
Celebrate
are
every individual. Yeah.
These are incredible pointers. I want everyone to turn on their videos, please. Can we unmute Havra Khambati, please?
Hi, Ashwini ma'am.
Hi.
So my question to you is, we all talk about success, but the real thing is that the success that we build on is on our failures and everything that we've learned from the small mistakes. So what is that you've learned, or how you've improved by those little things that you've done, and what would be your advice to all of us too. Like, I know you answered to my half of the question
It's a very
earlier.
important question, Avra. Like I said in the beginning, I don't know whether you all heard that I have a habit of writing, and I have a lot of stationery books. I feel that it is important that with every journey you have, with everything you do, whether it's films or whether it is as per in life or your work or your studies or anything, it is important that you write down everything in terms of what are the learnings after each project, or what are the learnings after watching this film. If you guys are film students, if you're learning, what are the things which you learned from this film, and take it back to the notes of watching. There are a lot of making of films which you can see online. There are a lot of these sites which talk about how films are made, and what the writer was thinking, what the DOP was thinking, and you put in your points along with that. One more thing which I have realized, which I always tell my ADs are all very young. If you've seen photographs, they're all very young. I took out the habit. The first thing which I did was that with every team of mine, I've always got them stationery books and pens and highlighters, because I want them to get out of the system of new age technology. I understand computers are very important and mobile phone notes are really cool. You have the tab where you could like this, right? But no, I want you to write down on inside the book and show me when I ask you, not going through your phone and like saying, oh, wait 1 second, it's in that folder, inside that folder. No, just show it to me when I ask you, is because that is something which when you write down things, you process things. That's what is my learning, that when you write down things, you process things. And the little mistakes which you do, if you have the humility to accept your mistake, if you have the humility to understand that if you're an assistant director and you have done something wrong, and I know how directors or first ADs can like really bash you out of your way during that time. But if you have the humility to say, you know what, I'm wrong and next time I'm not going to do that. If you are a person who has to be on set at 6:45 in the morning and you reach at 7, then you make sure that you sleep early in the night and don't hang around, and just make sure you do that. So you have to have the humility to say a sorry and work upon what you think lacks in you. Sorry can do everything. Yeah. But write down that I was late because of this reason, so maybe my book fell, so I need to figure life.
I completely agree with you, Ashwini. I think that reality check. Whenever something happens, whenever somebody is getting ticked off, or you feel that something's gone wrong, to kind of assess it in a slightly more, I would say democratic manner, where you also look at where you've gone wrong, or write it down, like Ashwini is saying. It's such a good way of kind of processing, that particular situation. It would make it far more humane, and you would also relate to it far more. On that note, a very important question by Kajal Kapoor. Can we please unmute Kajal?
Hi, good evening. So my question is basically about the contrasting characters in Panga and Ghar Ki Murgi. So, when you intended to, what you basically...
What about that film? Forgot about Ghar Ki Murgi. Yeah.
So what you intended to basically bring in Panga was about how women must step out of their guilt zone and, kind of decide what they want to do with their life, considering all, the fabric of the family, how they are really built around it. But in Panga, it's like a complete contrast. She finally decides what she also knows that her family wants. So bringing those contrasts, which makes it a clearer viewpoint for you as a filmmaker, considering that the audience is also expecting a sense of responsibility from the filmmakers and saying, okay, this is the kind of image that we want to go ahead and portray in the society for women, so that more women can come out of their shell, more women can go out and bring that, break that guilt barrier and, kind of decide for themselves, make their own choices. So as a filmmaker, what do you think about that?
See, thank you for asking me this question. Is because as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, my job is to show different personality types and different households and different psychographies and thinking which will change the course of how you look at the protagonist. So in both these places, the protagonist was a woman. Now there's this one woman who she's a homemaker, and she comes from a society which is fairly patriarchal. Not Panga, Ghar Ki Mugi, yeah. Is fairly patriarchal. She is in a society which is basically only about कि खाना बनाना है, घर के बच्चों को responsibility चीजें करनी है मुझे, and that happens to almost everyone. I mean, all of us have मेरी खुद की मम्मी, मेरी खुद की मासियाँ, मतलब we all have seen mothers and women like that who have so much of responsibilities towards the family, where they for her it is not the break of going to work. She has a little beauty parlor where she goes in the afternoon and does something. That's a joy she has, but predominantly her life revolves around the family. For her, the joy is to like sit for 2 hours and maybe watch a TV show. For her joy. See, every individual and personality type is different, and it belongs to, and we also dissect it through which who are we writing it about or for. So here it was about this woman. For all she needs is like, मेरे को 2 घंटे का रेस्ट दे दो यार, मतलब मैं बैठती हूँ और तुम मुझे बोलते हो उठने के लिए. उसका बेसिक चीज ये है कि अभी ये लॉकडाउन में हम सब ने रोज इतना सारा बर्तन धोए, इतना सारा खाना बनाया है कि अभी मुझे बस 10 दिन मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है. मुझे सिर्फ I just want time for myself. That's her basic motivation. When we have kitty parties, when we have women going for have these women groups, or when we have going for little outings, or when you have bhajans and all those things, that women are like enjoying their little time in the afternoon, that is to get away from their responsibilities and have that little 2 hours for themselves. So there the motivation was that. And for people, families are the ones who will always take the mother whom they love so much as take it for granted. हम हमेशा अपनी मम्मी को टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड करते हैं. मुझे याद है कि जब मेरी मम्मी घर आती है तो मुझे चाहिए कि मम्मी जैसे मुझे खाना चाहिए वैसे ही बनाए, और अगर वो नहीं बना तो मैं तो टेंट्रम थ्रो करती हूँ ना, आज तुमने वैसे नहीं बनाया, जो मुझे अच्छा लगता है वो नहीं बनाया. So we all, I'm sure, we take our mothers for granted. There the ultimate motivation was, what was in the end? See, she's not that prototype who can just leave her family and say, okay, अभी तुम लोग सब रहो, मैं तो जाने वाली हूँ गोवा. वो तो खाली threaten कर रही थी उनको. So we need to understand the other layers. It's like peeling an onion and seeing the layers below. And ultimately what that husband said, कि मैं चावी नहीं बोलूँगा, मैं भी दूध लेके आऊँगा सुबह. For her, that matters. That's her source of joy. Whereas in Panga, her prototype is different. Her background is different. She's more of a younger generation, more of the ones who has like got herself educated and who is working, who is been there, done that always on her own. A mother who always inspires her and makes sure that she's doing everything. And then she's got into this whole family responsibility. She's got married to a guy who we feel has to be the prototype of a husband of today, who can support his wife to follow his dreams, but take responsibility of it. So her ambition is different. Her ambition is not that I want to sit for 2 hours and do nothing. Her ambition is I want to go out and become something. And there may be a third prototype or a fourth prototype. There will be so many different according to the socio-economic backgrounds, according to your education, according to your family, what does family values are. We're so rich in our country with so many things, so it will all change accordingly. It's also this whole thing that if there are 2 brands, चलो डिटर्जेंट नहीं कर लिया क्योंकि मैंने डिटर्जेंट पे बहुत काम किया है. आप 2 डिटर्जेंट लेते हो तो दो डिटर्जेंट का ऐड तो सेम नहीं होता, वो बात करते हैं दो अलग महिलाओं से और वो अलग महिलाएं के लिए वो अलग चीजें बनाते हैं. So that's what it is.
Ashwini, author Vivek Tejuja has joined us on YouTube, and he wants to know how you're doing and what are you currently reading?
Oh, okay. So I'm doing fine. Thank you for seeing my books behind. I think you saw behind what is happening out there. Currently, I'm trying to read the Booker Prize shortlist. So I've just started reading Avni. I think Avni. Forgot her full name, but her book, Sugar. It's called Sugar Spice or something like that. Yeah, basically the Booker list right now. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. First of all, I'm from North India myself, Banaras, and I must say that कि दिल टूट गया कि it was initially बनारस की बर्फी.
बनारस की बर्फी नहीं होती, बनारस का बाफला होता है या कुछ और होता है या पेड़ा होता. पेड़ा होता.
It just breaks my heart. Well, my question.
वापस शूट कर लेंगे, उसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है.
I would glad to. My question is that your movies holds the essence, the simplicity, as in the stories of Anton Chekhov or Premchand. I mean, the characters are ordinary yet structured powerfully. So, how do you keep the literary essence or the the translation from paper to screen intact? That's my question.
See, the one thing which I do is that I am very, very responsible for my writers' pain in that they take in writing the dialogues. So locations I can change, I can do everything, but I feel very responsible that if I'm not a quintessential dialogue writer, then I need to give the respect for the people who are sitting and crafting those dialogues there. So I give a lot of importance to that. I always tell my actors also that if you are adding something, then please let me know. But if you're subtracting something, I'm not going to allow you to do that. If you have a point of view in terms of the way you want to say it, it's fine. Because आप सीधा dialogues को ऐसे ही बात नहीं कर सकते हैं. So that is something which I'm very clear about. The authenticity of what the dialogues translating into the characters' vocabulary comes purely through research, comes purely through making the actors imbibe day in and day out that this is your character, this is what you are, this is what you are, this is how it's going to be. This is through music references, and a lot of good actors, mostly in my films, I've always got really good actors. They themselves imbibe it is because they understand that. But also I have a lot of conversation with my actors. I speak a lot. I have a lot of conversations with my actors that by the time you're on set, I know them like in and out, and they also exactly know what I'm thinking, because on set, if you're not talking to your actors, if you're not talking to your crew, if all of you all are not on one page, then there will be confusion. So it is important that right from your assistant director to your actor, everyone is on the same page on what we are trying to say for the script. What's the pitch of the script? I would say that's the most important. What's the pitch of the script? Yeah.
Hi Smriti ma'am. Hi Ashwini ma'am. My question was, we've seen how characters in the Hindi film industry are mostly placed in the extreme ends of the palette. They're usually polarized. But how do you find that balance in making those characters nuanced, subtle, and also dramatic and commercial enough for the Indian audience to be liked?
Okay, I'll be very, very honest. Okay, Dhananjay. For me, characters just come. For me, it just happens, and it's just the feeling. I do not know words like those words, but it's just that I want simple dal chawal with a lot of tadka in it. So that's what it is, so that my audience, when they go into a theater, someone sitting in there needs to know that यार ये तो मेरी कहानी बता रही है, ये तो मैं हूँ, देखो यार तू ऐसा ही हस्बैंड है, तू मतलब तू घर आज मैंने देखो रोटी नहीं बनवाया ना, तो देखना तू, या हस्बैंड बोलेगा यार मेरे को तो आज रोटी बनाना ही पड़ेगा, ये तो मुझे देख के मारने वाली है, या बिट्टी के पापा जैसे हो, या एंड दैट्स व्हाट द फीलिंग केम आउट, दैट एवरीवन wanted a father like Pankaj Tripathi or has a father like Pankaj Tripathi, or aspire that काश मेरे पापा भी ऐसे होते यार, मेरे साथ ऐसे बात. So but because I'm making cinema and I'm making commercial cinema, and I'm responsible for my producers' money, and they need to make money in the at the end of the day, but I need to get creative satisfaction. It is important that we balance out the commercial aspects plus the storytelling in a way that doesn't nothing dominates each other, but they walk along, and that is most important. That's why I said दाल चावल में तड़का बहुत जरूरी होता है, because आप तड़के के बिना वो आपको मजा नहीं आएगा. And also it's very important that in any piece of storytelling, how many of the characters you have, every character journey needs to have a point A to the point B. You cannot stop your characters midway. Even the smallest character needs to have a closure. Maybe the smallest character was only there for 10 minutes in the film, but from point A to point B, your character flow has to be there, so that in Bareli Ki Barfi, Rajkumar Rao's mother's character was very less, but she was such a profound character. And maybe it was only for 10 minutes or 15 minutes of screen time, but she had a point A, she had a point B. And also it is very important for audiences to take sides of characters. There will be some people who won't like Jaya leaving her family and going for what? That she wants to follow her passion. She's leaving her child home and see they're having tel ka khana. But there will be some people say, yeah, you are right. It's because this is to zindagi bhar ka kaam hai. But then there will be some, yeah, Prashant, you're doing right. Yeah, you should also support what you're doing. I think my wife also needs to do the same thing. Or Nilbate Sannata, where we, after the film release, we had, even today, even I think a month back, there was someone who put saying that this is such, so Nilbate, which was basically doctor son and doctor father, both of them passed out at the same time. They studied together and passed out or something like that. I don't remember the exact one. Lawyer, a woman who passed out her BCom, homemaker, at the age of 55 or 56, when her daughter also passed out. You know, so these are the things which we can do as filmmakers, as storytellers, that create characters which have a journey and people take sides for. And it's okay for some people to hate your characters. And some people to say that, you know what, I do not agree with this. And for some men to say that, you know what, I'm not going to take my wife to Shopanga. This is not good for me, but yeah, you understand what I'm saying.
So ma'am, I actually wanted to ask you about your professional journey, which I find it's been very interesting. And I wanted to ask you, how was the transition from advertising to filmmaking? And, you know, was it hard to quit your regular job, which you had been doing for such a long time, and like start from scratch in a completely different field? Like it's related, but then also you were starting in a new industry. So how was that, you know, for you?
It was hard, very hard. It was a shock for my mother, who felt that इतना अच्छा, you know, see, ऐसा होता है ना कि आप एक मिडिल क्लास फैमिली से हो, आप एक मस्त एजेंसी में हेड कर रहे हो, आपको प्लेन में जाने को मिलता है, आप कैन जाते हो, आप सिंगापुर जाते हो क्लाइंट मीटिंग्स के लिए. यू नो, पेरेंट्स के लिए वो सब चीज़ें बहुत बड़ी होती है ना, कि यार मेरा बच्चा तो इधर जा रहा है, अरे अभी तो कल ही तो आई है यहाँ से. तो यू नो, दोज आर द थिंग्स. प्रोविडेंट फंड है, ग्रेट्युइटी है, एम्प्लॉय हूँ, काफ़ी अच्छे पैसे मिल रहे हैं, कौन छोड़ेगा ऐसा नौकरी. एक सेक्रेटरी भी है जो बुक करती है टिकट्स और फोन उठाती है, तो फिर मतलब गाड़ी भी देता है ऑफिस, तो बेसिकली ड्राइवर भी देता है, तो यू नो, so many things. So but I think it is very important to follow your passion and to know with humility to say that, you know, this is what I want to do. So but that this is what I have to do cannot happen like this suddenly, because we all have to feed ourselves, we have to feed our families, we have to have enough. I think we need to earn enough to lead a fairly comfortable life. And it is important that whatever we do it with a lot of thinking and with a lot of honesty for yourself, and responsibility for your family, who have given you that education to be where you are, so that's very important. The second thing which is important is that you really need to know that are you really good, or you just feel that you're good. There's a difference there, because if you're really good and you really feel about it, then you need to give yourself 1 year of your time, and you say, okay, 1 year I'm going to give myself to this, and if things don't work out for me, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back to where I belong, and I'm glad I took that journey, but maybe it's not working for me. The third most important thing is you cannot compare yourself with others' journey. Your journey is your journey. Other people's journey is other people's journey. Is because what they must have thought may not happen with you. But it is important to understand the experience of that journey, which means that today, if I have shifted from a very proper job, from a middle class family, and then moved on to filmmaking, which is totally different. No one in my family has done a totally different industry. I don't know anything about it. Then it is important to learn that, okay, there is a possibility, and you need to explore that possibility in the right way. It has to be that. Also, I feel that it is important to test the waters. Test the waters and not feel dejected when things don't work your way. And the most important thing, I think it's all about timing. It is all about timing. That आपका मतलब टाइमिंग करेक्ट हो जाता है तो सब आपको एकदम ऐसे हो जाता है. टाइमिंग थोड़ा गलत है तो थोड़ा पुश हो जाता है. And if you want to get into filmmaking, you want to get into direction, then it is important that you start as an assistant director. You get into the groove of at least working somewhere where you know that your bills are getting paid, and you're still doing what you want to do, because eventually no learning will go unlearned. Even that little assistant direction you do, whether you're a fourth assistant also, you are doing something because you are dealing on an everyday basis with something, and it is paying you enough to pay your bills, your minimum bills, so that is important. And you need to save enough money before you plunge into anything. I always feel that I'm extremely orthodox thinking that way, that I need to save up enough to make sure. So when I shifted, I was living on my gratuity and my provident fund, literally. Although I was married and Nitesh was working and everything, but in our thing, it's like I can't. For me, it is I need to survive on my own instinct. But the thing was that I didn't have to pay the bills in terms of rent house and all those things, So it is very important that your back end is free, so that what you achieve to do, you can focus on that. Because if you can't focus on that and you're only thinking, yaar, mera abhi kya hone wala hai, how am I going to survive, then that's a problem. And always important, if you're changing course, to please tell your loved ones and to please tell your family that you're doing something like that.
Hi, good evening, ma'am. I really like your Neel Bhatte Sannata movie. Like most people like Bareli Ki Barfi, but I really relate to Neel Bhatte Sannata. And my question to you is that filmmaking is a creative process, a long, dramatic, and a dynamic one. It's often really hard to reconcile the difference between what we desired and what we achieved. How have you encountered this, and how do you move through it?
So, Rangi, I didn't understand your question. Sorry.
I mean that filmmaking is a long process. It's quite dynamic one, and there is sometimes we desire something, but sometimes we don't achieve that. So how have you encountered that process, and how have you moved from it, and how
I got
is the growth?
Now I understand. Filmmaking is a long process. It's a process of a lot of patience, and it is always tell myself that process is more important than the end result. Is because if you start thinking of the end result, then the whole process itself is going to be very shaky. And also, it's very, very important to understand that why did you get into filmmaking? Why did you get into the whole aspect of storytelling? Why did you get into making movies or any form of storytelling? You know, whether it is you want to be a stand-up comedian, you want to be a writer, you want to be anything. This generation needs a little bit of more patience. The reason being is that nothing happens. It's not, yes, you have instant coffee and instant machines and instant noodles, but you cannot get instant gratification and success overnight. It doesn't happen that way. You need to push yourself, and you need to learn the ropes, and you need to keep evolving and opening up your mind, and treat every day as a journey of learning. So that journey of equanimity, of learning, is more important than the end result, because the end result is like rain. पता भी नहीं चला कि कब बारिश होता है और निकल जाता है. So it is like a farmer putting crop, and even a crop takes about 4 months to yield results, you know, and पता चलता है कि एक दिन बारिश आ जाता है and the crop is gone. So that's what it is. But what is important, that you need to keep moving and you need to keep focusing on the good side of every experience versus thinking of अरे यार मैंने इतना किया, मैं तो कब से लिख रहा हूँ पर कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा. वो होता नहीं है. There are times when we have written a whole script, and we have written it for a year or so, and after a year we realize that it is not working for us now anymore. And that's our life, and we have chosen to be a part of this creative process. So we have to imbibe it also. You know, there's a very famous writer called Murakami. I don't know whether you guys know him. Yeah, Murakami. Now Murakami, when he writes, he knows that he is a prolific writer, and he has to write the kind of words he needs to get out. But when he starts writing, he gives up on a lot of things. He gets up every day in the morning at some 6 o'clock, and then has a certain ritual. You can see, Google it, you will see the daily schedule of Murakami, and he does that every day of his life till he doesn't finish the book. So that's what it is. So creativity, what you see out there, doesn't come because someone just said cut and action and it happened. You know, there is a process. Like Nil Bate Sannata took about 3 years to happen. The story idea came from Rucha, I don't know when, 2018, 2020 it released. Bareli happened 2016, 2018 it released. So it takes time, and you just have to go with the flow. At the end of the day, this is something, because both Nitesh and me are filmmakers, and movies are our lives, and you know, we think, breathe, we speak movies and storytelling. But movies can be your life, but movies cannot like consume your life also. The art of storytelling cannot consume your life. It has to go beyond that. You have to enjoy the process of storytelling.
So my question is not exactly about your craft. It's more about the response, your response to your film's reception. Your films are about simple people from heartland, like from towns. But most of your films, they have found takers in the urban multiplex audience and on OTTs. So is there a void in you that feels maybe your films are not reaching the kind of people whose stories they are telling? Like, you know, somebody like Chanda or Apu from Nil Bate Sannata, people like them, you know.
Okay, so I'll just make a little bit of this doubt clear. That in fact, Nil Bate Sannata was a film which was shown across a lot of NGOs.
Okay.
And you know, the beauty about stories is that if I like a film today, if I like a film which is not talking about me but talks about a very important conversation, then I would call the person I know, who I know this film is for, and I will say, you know what, you need to watch this film.
Okay.
बैठ इधर, तेको दिखाता हूँ मैं, या तेको दिखाती हूँ मैं. So I know a whole lot of people who have called people in groups and who have asked me that time, abhi to available hai, but they used to ask for permissions that can we show it in this NGO, can we show it here, can we show it in schools, can we show it in midday schools, can we show it in wherever, so many, in Ahmedabad, in so many places. So good films, if you feel that there's a need to be shown, is shown everywhere from the right people who will take it to those people.
Okay, great. Good to hear that. I'm happy for you. Yeah. Great.
For me, thank you.
No. I just felt like maybe there's that gap between the target audience and the stories.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
See, you're also making this film. You're talking about an audience in a movie, but you're showing it to everyone.
Yeah.
And like I said before, emotions are universal. Just because I showed a mother-daughter relationship from a class of society which a multiplex audience wouldn't belong to, doesn't mean that I do not understand that emotions. Because if I didn't understand that emotions, then I would not cry in a theater. If I didn't understand that emotions, then it would not win in Rome Film Festival, or in London Film Festival, where there are so many other foreigners coming and watching the film. So what I'm trying to say here, it's not about that Nil Batte Sannada was watched by everyone. No, I'm not trying to say that. All I'm trying to say is that a good film which has the right communication, what you want to say, will spread its wings on its own without you telling too much. And that's the power of good
storytelling.
Hello, ma'am. I'm a great fan of Nil Batte Sannada. And I wanted to ask you, so you were in advertising and then you moved to filmmaking. So you said that your transition was really hard. I wanted to ask, what were the best traits that you learned in advertising that you took to filmmaking?
The one thing which I learned in advertising, I learned a lot of things, and I owe a lot of my discipline to advertising. One thing which I learned was teamwork, that no one is smaller than you or bigger than you. We all are working in a team, and everyone is supposed to do something, and everyone is good at something. So one thing which we learned in advertising was that the idea can come from anywhere, but an art director will always art direct. A client servicing person will always go and sell the campaign to the client. The creative director will always make sure that the packaging is correct. So that's what it is. So the oneness in work comes in from there, with giving equal respect to everyone in the team. The second thing is about what is your objective of each scene. Why are you telling the story? One, who are you telling the story to? And what is the objective of each scene? The reason being is because sometimes we write a lot in the screenplay, and then the production budget is put in according to your screenplay, and then later on you realize that, but you know what, we are not using the scene at all in the edit. Is because it is not going with the flow, or it was not needed at all. Then why did we shoot it? Which means that you put in so much of time. Shooting each scene would take about like 1 hour or 2 hours, and then that much time is going by. So objectivity of each scene I write down after we write the screenplay. That who are we talking? Who is the scene talking to? In the sense that who's your main character? Why are we talking to? And what is the objective of the scene? Even if it's a one-liner, we do that. The third thing is discipline. That's why the books and writing keeps coming in there. And the fifth thing is honesty. Is honesty, and the whole idea of learning and learning every day. Doesn't matter who you are, but you need to learn every day, because you can learn from anyone. I have learned so much from my 21-year-old DA, so there's so much you learn. And the sixth thing is, I forgot. I wanted to say something. When I remember, I'll tell.
You'll remember, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, the fifth thing is about how to say things simply. Because see, in advertising, you're telling things and you get only 15 seconds. आजकल तो बहुत ही कम हो गया है. जब हम थे तो 45 seconds मिलता था, ये 60 seconds. 60 seconds तो was like, wow, something is really happening today. But 45, 30, that's what you're saying, you know. So how do you tell so much in so much? So you simplify, you keep simplifying. So your simplification helps you even in the storytelling of churning out what is not necessary.
Hi, Ashwini ma'am. Hi, Smriti ma'am. Hi, good evening, everybody. So the question I have is the importance of the female gaze for storytelling is being discussed a lot of late. So I wanted to ask you, Ashwini ma'am, that what have you noticed are the differences between the gaze of a man and a woman when it comes to subliminal messaging or subtlety in the narrative or emotions or breadcrumbs while telling a story for film?
See, I feel that the male gaze and the female gaze does have a lot of impact on the way you tell a story, is because there are a lot of things which comes in very uniquely to women, which is more emotional side of ours, or understanding the person even without not saying too much. And it is that, I'm sorry to use this word, but that whole feeling of motherly feeling just comes on its own there, and you can't help it. It's like this are there. So if my actors something is going on in their head, even looking at them, I understand that there is, maybe today there's so much going on, right? You have to be something, you have a home, you have a family, then you're coming on set and then you're becoming a different character. And it can happen to your assistant directors, it can happen to your DOP, anyone. So we have that gaze which comes also for characters, and then it also comes in the film. Also, that little added advantage I feel is that women understand women better. Women understand men better, although men think that men don't understand women better, and men also think that women don't understand them. But I feel that women understand men, and women understand women also. So it is very important to keep that little bit of empathy which comes in naturally there. But that doesn't mean that I know a lot of men who are also who empathize and who have that gaze which would come from a female narrative also. It's just that we have that extra edge there. We just have that little extra edge. I don't know how to explain it. It's just that there is that little extra edge which is there, yeah. That we can just be ourselves when we speak and communicate.
And I know I keep saying this, but I'm also tempted to get questions answered. But another question that a lot of people have asked is that what are your influences? Like, in the sense, like just the work that you're influenced by, or the directors you're influenced by, what are your influences?
Frankly, I've been asked this question a lot of times, and let me be a little honest about it. Like I said also before, I've said this thing. For me, my most influence comes from life and from looking at people and reading a lot of books. And I do not watch a lot of movies, but I read a lot of books. The reason I do not watch a lot of movies is because me being a filmmaker, then when I watch a movie, I don't watch a movie like I should watch a movie. I watch a movie like, oh, the cinematography, oh, okay, this character and all that stuff. Unless I want to watch a movie because I want to watch a movie. So I do that. It's important that you're abreast with the kind of work which is happening in the world, and you need to change with the changing times. But I read a lot because I love reading, is because the writing always takes me to a visual land and makes me see things. Also, I see a lot of people, and basically I live life, happy, with gratitude. That's all. I don't look out for ideas. Ideas just come.
So on that wonderful note of happiness and gratitude,
what we discussed would be life in mundane with lots of love and gratitude every day. Yeah, that's what it should be for us.
Guys, our next session is on next Thursday. I'm going to be chatting with the lovely Abhishek Chaube. And so join us, sign up for the session, or just join us on YouTube Live. We'll be going live at 5 o'clock, and we are going to be chatting about choosing your story and creating its world. So thank you so much for plugging in. Thank you, Ashwini, again for giving us the kind of time that you've given us. And I'll see you guys next Thursday. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.